Welcome to Cafe Latino. As every week, we're here to share with the community, and today is no exception. We have an amazing friend of mine. Her name is Anastasia. How you doing, Anastasia?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Thank you for coming. Cafe Latino is a place that we just take coffee, fake coffee because we cannot drink coffee here, and it just asks for conversation between friends. So, Anastasia, tell us a little about yourself. Where did you born? What did you study? Yeah.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today. I'm the daughter of three. I'm the youngest daughter of three girls. My parents came from Greece, and my sister and I were all born in the United States. My sister was born in Chicago, and I was actually born in Florida, so I'm a true Floridian.
Oh, wow.
And my parents came over when they were in their late 20s. So
very young.
Yeah, well, it's kind of older because when they started having kids, they weren't really familiar with the school district.
Absolutely.
So they put us into the public schools, and my sister, my oldest sister, did not speak English at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she was in the English as a second language program, and she was able to really thrive and be able to be into the general classrooms by the second grade, which was wonderful. But my sisters,
Wow.
my second sister and I were fully English speakers, but when we entered kindergarten, and we're all the products of the public school system.
Mm-hmm.
I personally attended a magnet school for high school. It's called Suncoast High School, and I was in the International Baccalaureate program, which was an amazing program. And it really
like South Lakes.
correct. Yep, several of our schools have the IB program, and it was a wonderful program, and it really was an opportunity for me to thrive, and it really allowed me to accelerate my academics and also be able to earn college credits. I attended the George Washington University, and I earned a degree in international affairs and economics, and I actually graduated in 3 years based on all the credits I had from my international baccalaureate classes as well as my advanced placement classes. When I was in high school, I was very active, and I actually was elected the first student president of a PTSA, supposedly in the nation. I was elected on my junior year, and I also served my senior year. And then on my senior year, I also served as corresponding secretary for the county PTSA. And during that tenure, I had the opportunity to travel to Tallahassee and visit with certain legislators. And during the time, a big issue that came up was school safety, especially for children after school, because a lot of parents work and aren't able to supervise. So between 3 and 6 is actually the largest time period back then that they said of incidences that happened. So I went back home to my town and I said, hey, is this really a problem in our area?
Yes.
And I found out that it was. So I actually worked with the police department, and I worked with an elementary school and with a church that had a community center right across the street from the elementary school, and I started a nonprofit to serve the children that were in need. Yes, it was an absolutely amazing opportunity. The community came together. I got my funding. I presented to Rotary, and they gave me $1,000, and then Kiwanis gave me another $1,000, and the Girl Scouts provided cookies, and we had volunteers all from the community, and we were able to serve 55 children. It started off, I believe, at 35, and it grew to 55, and that was instantly. Literally the first day, we had an influx of parents coming and signing up their children because there was such a need and even in our small community.
Where was that?
It was in Lake Park, Florida,
Okay.
where the actual program was. And the students, we did tutoring with them because academics is vital, but we also did sports, and we also did arts and crafts with them, and we also had mentoring because we really felt that it was important to help address the whole child. And we also provided snacks, and at times we also provided children with snacks to take home if it was a need to
So it
their
was like
family.
an after-school program.
It was an after-school program.
Just to be sure that the kids are safe instead of going out in the streets.
Correct. Our big thing was a safe learning environment after school for them that provided them with tutoring and resources for them to succeed. And it's near and dear to my heart. So I did that my senior year, and then I attended George Washington University, and while at GW, I actually received an award from America's Promise. And they actually, GW, supported me and flew me down to receive the award, and Colin Powell actually was the presenter. So I got to meet with him and Governor Jeb Bush at the time, and it really was such a tremendous moment, not only for me, but for my community, to see what one person can do with the help of the community. And it really was a tremendous opportunity for us to serve our community.
So your leadership began very young. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So when you went to your Washington University, what did you study there?
International Affairs and Economics, and I also was very active. I was the president of the Student Alumni Association. I was involved in Omicron Delta Kappa, which is a leadership co-ed fraternity with actually professors and students involved, which was very nice. But as part of the Student Alumni Association, I was attending events with the president of the university, and I got to meet people from all over the world, people who were coming to the university for conferences, but also with regards to recruiting students from other countries to showcase the wonderful things that are happening at GW. And it really was an amazing experience to meet so many people from all over the world.
What an opportunity. And we always asking our guests to tell us about love stories. So then maybe somewhere around there, did you meet your husband?
So I have a great love story, actually.
I love that. This is people listen to us just because they say Laura always have a guest that will tell love stories.
Well, I actually was attending an event at the Four Seasons in Georgetown. So I also was president of the Hellenic Club at GW. So it was called Cosmos. And instead of it just being GW, because there weren't that many of us, we had Georgetown, American, Catholic, and we invited all the university students together, and we did different conferences, and we had speakers, and we had social events. And there was one event called American Hellenic Institute, and they were having a gala, and they were actually honoring Ambassador Burns. So I also interned at the U.S. Embassy in Athens one summer, and I got to be under the leadership of Ambassador Burns, who was a tremendous man, and he was being honored. So I asked the organization if we could have some youth represented. So I had recruited 20 different students from the different universities, and we attended this event. And that evening, I met a man who is named Michael. And
I love love stories. Let me tell you, the audience that listen to us, listen, this is just the best part.
And that night, he told his friend that he was going to marry me, but it took me a little bit longer to be convinced, as I was 10 years younger than him and still in college. But once I graduated the university, I actually went to Philadelphia. He recruited me as my friend to go work for the school district of Philadelphia. And I moved to Philadelphia, and then within months we were dating, and then he proposed to me, and that's a fun Philly story. He proposed to me in front of the tiger cage at the Philadelphia Zoo, like Rocky. So we have the great Philadelphia love story that started in D.C. though.
D.C. You never know where you're going to find your love.
That is true. So we moved to Philadelphia, and I worked for the school district.
What did you do there?
I did community relations, and I also did parent involvement. So I had an opportunity, which was fantastic, to work with parents and really get them engaged and involved in the school district and what was happening. We held monthly meetings with parents. We worked closely with the home and school. They didn't actually have PTAs. And we also worked with community-based organizations. So I worked with over 150 community-based organizations because they all had different programs within our schools. And then I also created a program to have a positive impact. Philadelphia at the time had a large student violence issue, and we did campaigns, Stop the Violence campaigns, and I got athletes. So I worked with Donovan McNabb, who was actually the quarterback of the Eagles at the time, and I had him do a PSA for us, and it was amazing. It had a tremendous impact. It literally was 30 seconds, and we were able to have it broadcast, and kids heard it, and they really were excited that Donovan McNabb cared about them, that he's, it was a back to school message and an anti-violence message. And we also had other athletes to be involved and be positive role models, because a lot of kids, I used to visit a lot of schools, and what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a football player, I want to be a basketball player, I want to be, a singer or an actor, whatever it might be, and these are all great, and you want the kids to aspire to be them. But I always said Donovan had a backup plan, because at the end of the day, you can get hurt at any minute, whether it's in the game or in your personal time, and you need a backup plan. So he got a degree in communications, and that was his backup plan, and he's actually continuing that after his career in the NFL. And I think it's really important to have our children, believe in, being whatever they put their mind to and aspire to be, but also to always have a backup plan rooted in education and having a foundation, whether it be, in academics or, the trades. I think the trades are a wonderful career, and they're in need. And, many trades have a lack of employees because they can't find people with the skills that they need. And I think it's important to really look at our education system and how can we help that and encourage students to go into a trade, especially if that's something they have interest in, and expose them through internships. Absolutely. That's another big thing I'm an advocate of. We need to have our children exposed to internships and mentoring. Mentoring is key. Another thing that I did well in Philadelphia was, it's actually my first week working at the school district. I was only 21 years old, and a young man comes up to me, and he says, "Hi," he goes, "I want to work for you." And I was a little taken back. He was an African-American young man, and I was like, "Aren't you in school?" He goes, "Yes, I'm in school. I'm at Roxborough High School, but I want to learn from you."
That's awesome. We are going to take a little tiny break because it's almost 10 o'clock. We have to do our advertising, and we come back.
Okay.
Did you hear? Like what you see? Lights,
To put
camera,
this
action,
advertising,
here's your
because
chance
it's 10
to
o'clock.
put your voice and talent to use.
It's
What
37
are you
seconds.
waiting for? Your show could be the next big hit. Get
Oh, I didn't tell you, but I'm the engineer and I'm the...
You wear all the hats, right?
Yeah.
We have courses in radio and television production, post-production, and much more. Come volunteer on a show and sharpen your skills. Don't delay. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone and call us at 571-749-1102 or visit our website www.fcac.org/orientation.
So it's 10 o'clock. We're here in Cafe Latino, and we have a guest. Her name is Anastasia. She's running for a school board, and we are in this long conversation. So let's continue our conversation. She was telling us that she used to live in Pennsylvania when she just graduated from college. So we were talking about mentoring. Yes, I have a program for mentoring, and I have a foundation helping Hispanic women to go to college. And mentoring is determined. It's so important. And recently, you and I recently become mentor for Fairfax County. I invite you to be part of. I think mentoring is, so let's continue our conversation.
Great. So Michael showed up the next day and at the school district, and I started mentoring him, and he was amazing. He was thirsty for information. He wanted to take a different path than his parents had. His father was incarcerated at the time when I met him, and his mom had him as a teenager, and his grandma had his mom as a teenager, and he did not want to repeat the cycle.
Because like in that community, it's constantly, in the minority community, it happens a lot. Huh?
Yeah, and I encouraged him and I supported him. He graduated with honors and attended Temple University, and actually got a degree in English.
Incredible.
Yes, and is now teaching in Philadelphia. So it really is a remarkable story. I mean, it was all him. His hard work, his dedication, all he needed was a positive role model who could show him that there are other opportunities, and it really is, and we're still, of course, very close to this day. And he came to me actually a few weeks ago, which I thought was interesting, and he's like, "You know what?" He goes, "I need your help. I need your help a little bit with my finances." He goes, "I never really, was exposed to balancing your checkbook, being able to look at, he would love to buy a house, or looking at mortgages and helping him with that." So even at, he's 33 now, even at 33, we're still connected and mentoring, and it's really been a wonderful experience for both of us. He's a part of my family. My children love him. My husband has been there for him as a role model as well. And
Wonderful.
I really believe that we need to expand that program in Fairfax County and be able to get the community, all the listeners out there. You can all make a difference. You can just take even an hour out of a week really can have an impact on a young person's life. At one of the back to school nights, I met a gentleman who was promoting his coding program.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, that's wonderful. I go, have you thought about offering a scholarship to someone who can't afford your program? And he was like, I never really thought about that. I go, because he was explaining to me how remarkable the students who pass through the program are really excelling. And I said, I bet you there's a student out there that would love this opportunity but doesn't have the financial means. And I really hope everybody, when you're looking at your day-to-day, whether it's your work office or your volunteering that you're doing, just see if you can incorporate somebody that has the potential to do something great.
Absolutely, I think, and we will put this in our YouTube video about where you can contact the person for the mentoring in Fairfax.
Another opportunity that I was involved in was called Hope Partnership for Education. I served on the board. It was a nonprofit school that served 5th through 8th graders. And it's in North Philadelphia, which is one of the most troubled areas of Philadelphia. And it really took in students that were behind either 2 years or 3 years academically in reading or mathematics, but had potential, and that the parents really looked to us for an opportunity, or they also had disciplinary issues and needed a different venue, a safe school for their child. And it really, really had an impact on seeing what a difference a small caring environment has on a child's future. So it was only 5th through 8th grade, but we also stayed with the children. We helped them with their high school, to get into high schools, and also stay with them with their academics and tutor them. And then also getting into college is also another component that we followed the students with. So it really was, it still exists, and it's a wonderful program that is really helping break the cycle. And I would love to see more programs, especially nonprofits, really helping step up with the after-school programs. Lastly, the other thing I did in Philadelphia, when
it's so interesting because the people need to know about you, do not? It's great.
And I'm glad I have this opportunity, because when you're speaking, it's kind of difficult to really outline your entire life in 2 minutes as they give you.
This is your casa's mi casa, and this is for you to share with the community, because you live in an area that the people are listeners, that is hands-on.
See. I really appreciate that. So I was here in DC at 9/11. I was at GW, I was an undergrad. And when I moved to Philadelphia, it was right after that. And I said, hey, school district, what are we doing about the safety of our students?
You continue with that idea, because safety is something that you always been
correct. So the big thing was, they said, oh, listen, Homeland Security is actually is funding a lot of programs, but the Department of Education is really having a difficult time figuring out how to incorporate it. And so I actually was appointed I was an advocate to get a seat at the table. So I was appointed a schools subcommittee chair on the Southeastern Pennsylvania Counterterrorism Task Force. So I represented 5 counties of schools, and had a seat at the table, which was an amazing opportunity for everyone around, all the emergency responders, to really have a first-hand opportunity to listen to the real concerns of the schools. And we were able to get some funding and be able to implement some programs. But fast forward, and we're in 2019 now, and unfortunately the matters have gone worse. We have, back then we really did not have, we had Columbine in '99, but we really didn't have this mass shooting horror happening in our schools. And I'm really, really disheartened that in this many years something hasn't been done. And I am advocating, one of my 4 main points is safety. And I really believe that we need to wake up and realize that it can happen anywhere. Like I said, I'm from Florida. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas was literally, a stone throws away from my family home, and it really is disheartening. They also thought it couldn't happen here. It was a great school, wonderful families, and having met, I actually was invited to speak on a panel after that with Senator Marco Rubio and others about school safety and what needs to be done, and it really, really needs to be brought to the forefront and funded. And I know the Department of Homeland Security right now is also looking at funding certain programs, but the Fairfax County needs to be the first one in line to be there to receive the funding and implement the programs. We cannot wait, and we cannot say it's not going to happen here. We really need to step up and invest in the safety of our children, and also with mental health. I really believe that mental health is a component, and it needs to begin early on. You know, we need more school counselors, we need school psychologists actually meeting with students. Right now, unfortunately, a lot of school districts around the nation are inundated with paperwork. Absolutely. And you have these amazing professionals with, you know, degrees in the profession that they're supposed to be administering, you know, services to children, to students, but instead they're, you know, in meetings and they're, you know, filing paperwork instead of actually administering services. And I would really like to reevaluate the way Fairfax County invests in mental health and how we can be able to, you know, rethink things and be able to start in a younger age. I also believe that we do need school resource officers in elementary schools. Right now, we have school resource officers in our middle schools and our high schools, but not our elementary schools. And I've spoken to principals, and, you know, so far those that I've spoken to are on my side and believe that we do need them. And whether, you know, again, it always comes down to, you know, the funding, but there's always a way. Our children's safety should be a number one priority. We're looking at, you know, wasting money on renaming buildings and so forth, but I think we should actually, before we begin those discussions, make sure that our children are safe, that they're not sitting in one of the 800 trailers. We currently have 22,000 students in trailers, and that doesn't include the modulars. So if you take the modulars, no one's been able to give me an accurate number, but it's definitely probably, you know, in the 40,000 range.
Okay, give me 1 second. Every certain time I have to put an ad.
Radio Fairfax.
You're speaking really fast.
I am.
So you have to calm down, breathe, and we have around 10 minutes.
That's
I will
it?
ask him the questions, and you have to respond very concretely, okay? So we can cover more. So yeah, we are here in Fairfax Public Access, an amazing place. Just coming back a little, I wanted to learn a little more. Why did make you the decision to run for a school board?
That's a great question. Well, I'm the mom. We haven't even talked about my children. I'm the mom of 4 children.
Oh
I have a freshman son at Langley. I have a 7th grade daughter at Cooper, and I have a 5th grade and 1st grade sons at Churchill Elementary.
Oh wow!
Yes.
So you have all Fairfax County books.
Yeah, I have all levels covered at this moment. And to be honest, we only moved here 2 years ago, but I love the area. And
what area do you live?
I live in McLean.
McLean, okay.
But I also, when I was in college, my best friend lived in Great Falls, so I spent a lot of time in Great Falls.
And McLean is, when we're talking about McLean, is it close to the Tyson's area?
No, I'm right next to the schools. I'm right off Georgetown Pike, so right next to Cooper and Langley.
Okay.
Yep. And I decided to run, to be honest with you, because I didn't feel that the person that was running, she had already declared in January. I didn't feel that she was going to be able to fight this fight. And I mean that there's a lot going on in Fairfax County right now. The current representative for Drainsville has been there for about 27 years.
Wow.
Yes, and unfortunately, having spoken to the principals and teachers, we are not going the right direction, in the sense that McLean High School is overcrowded, and it's been overcrowded, and there's concerns about, again, like I said, I would talk to the schools about safety. Everybody says that it's an issue, but nothing's being done. I also think we need to bring to the forefront current issues. Vaping. Now it's kind of been brought to the national attention, but this has been a problem. Last year,
kids are doing at the bathrooms.
Yeah, in the bathrooms, in the classrooms, it was happening.
Incredible.
It is incredible. Unfortunately, it's addictive, and there's nicotine. And I think that the vaping companies have done a fantastic job of marketing, and as you know, the flavors, and there's a whole movement now, and I'm an advocate to not have access to these flavors to our children. But I also think that we need to make sure that our voices are heard as parents. I'm a parent with children. My opponent that was in the race when I decided to run, does not have children currently in the school district. And honestly, you have to be in it to have skin in the game, to understand either your children, are advocates and they can tell you what's going on. You also have a relationship with parents that are currently involved, and you also have the access to the teachers. And I think that having students currently in it will be an advantage to the school board as a whole, because I'll have the pulse of the district, of the schools and the teachers and the parents, and being able to advocate. I know that your son recently graduated, so you were just in it. You understand. You see things differently when you're in it, and you can be told one thing, but when you're actually there, you can have a better understanding. And the budget, we are very fortunate. We have a $3 billion budget, and I think that with those resources, we need to allocate them correctly. And I also, I earned an M.B.A. in finance from Drexel University when I was in Philadelphia. So I also have a business background and academics. At the end of the day, I really need their school district to focus on academics. Their responsibility is to make sure that all children have access to proper resources to learn. And that's what it should be about. We should be making sure that we have safe classrooms, we have reasonable class sizes. I've been told that one of my schools has an AAP class of 36 kids.
Oh my goodness.
How are you supposed to learn with 36 kids? And an AAP is supposed to be an accelerated program where the teacher's supposed to go at a faster pace.
Yes.
But with 36 kids, I think it's a very difficult challenge for teachers.
So how many high schools do you have in your district?
I have 3 high schools. I have McLean High School, Herndon High School, and Langley High School.
So since you have a Herndon High School with highly populated by Latinos, what is your point of view about the achieving gap?
I'm glad you brought that up. So I really believe that we need to focus on the whole child. And I've been to Herndon, met with Dr. Noto. She's fantastic. I honestly think she's a blessing to that school. And I've also met with Herndon Elementary, Clearview. I've been to a lot of schools actually in the Herndon community, not just the high school. And what I'm hearing is that we need to actually get more resources. So Herndon High School does an amazing job. They have a Spanish-speaking PTSA. They have a Spanish-speaking guidance counselor. They also, but they still need more ESL teachers. They need more resources to help the students. And they also, I think, would be very beneficial to having mentors. I actually was meeting with my friend who's also from Honduras, and she said, listen, when I came here, I didn't know, how to assimilate. I was put into a school, but yet no one was really saying, hey, maybe you should get involved in this activity. Maybe you should, explore this. And I think that, encouraging our students, especially our students from immigrant parents, to help them navigate the school, especially at high school level. Have them try out for the sports team. Have them try out for chorus. Have them be really integrated into the school and not just there for the academics.
Integration, not separation, no? Because in this moment we isolated the ESOL students. When if they integrated, will be successful. They will finish together. They will feel part of the.
And I also think we need to focus on the mental health. Everybody comes from a different situation. And I know that, that's a big issue. And another thing, to be honest with you, they do a great job. They have a food pantry at Herndon High School and at Herndon Middle School. I actually helped do food for neighbors and pack them a few weeks ago. And that's the thing, we need the community to step up. So they have this access, but it's only 2 schools, right? I know, having spoken to the principal at Clearview, that that's also a need. She's like, I would love to have, snacks for my children to take home and, after school programs. The principals and the teachers know that what the kids need is beyond the classroom, and how do we connect them with these resources and reach out to the community and bring them in. It needs to be an effort where we, instead of secluding them, like you said, we integrate them and get them involved.
Absolutely. So I believe that we have an amazing group of people running for school board, and I appreciate everything you've done, and amazing. Your knowledge will be very helpful to change the school board. So we're looking forward to support you. Could you let us know what the people that listen to us, what webpage they can go to learn more about you? Of
course. So my name is Anastasia Karloutsos, and my website is Anastasia, ANASTASIA, the number 4, 4kids.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as well, and it's Anastasia, the number 4 kids.
Perfect. Well, we will continue next week with more conversations about candidates running for the school board, and you can follow us at Cafe Latino Radio in Facebook and in Instagram. Well, have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you next week. Perfect.
Thank you very much. Well, it's funny, to be honest with you,